Not seeing him return. He is able to get the beat on him, so this actually may have worked out in his favor. Gets a second kill onto Tom.
But he's actually going to drop back into Banana. And 2 players in the apartment getting traded. Oh, Eric's actually going to pick up 3K there.
Eric? Okay. Doing too much damage. We're pushing directly into CT. So another 1-for-1 trade happening, but Church, 2 nice headshots at the end with a 4K right now. Can he get the ace? And he does. Pistol round ace.
HHQ gonna have to get this 1v3 to get the win here. He takes the first spray, gets a kill on the Church, gets one on Eric, and he gets a on the Scorpion. 1 versus 3 to save the map.
And that was the AVGL Top Plays of the Week, as brought to you by Twitch. We apologize for that small technical issue. We heard that we didn't get all of PD's nice recap of Dota, so let's go back to him and find out what's going on in Dota. What's up, PD?
Well, as I already talked about already, but you guys didn't hear it. A lot of the teams are still 7 and 6-0 for Dota 2 right now, so a lot of the teams are holding their lead. In specific, we had the team Lehigh versus DLC. Wow, no Arc Warden versus DLC, which was Lehigh University versus Maryland, and it was a pretty scary game, as it was a Slark versus Legion Commander, the 2 of the hard carries. And what happened was that it ended up ending by a throw at the end of the game. Ended up Legion Commander dueling Slark, while Slark, the Slark can steal stats and practically kill any hero he wants when he's in a 1v1 battle. And it was an Aghanim Scepter on the Legion Commander, so only he can deal damage and only she can deal damage to him, which ended up, Slark easily would win the duel and did win the duel. And they rushed down mid and finished up the game and ended at as a 2-1 series. But still, yeah, a lot of the teams 7-0, 6-0, and especially my UC teams, as I'm from California, those are the teams that I want to win in particular. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to perform in this last week. There's only 1 week left until we figure out what the heck we're doing next.
Oh yeah, bringing it back into the brackets will be so much fun with these teams that have been kind of dominating in the leagues. We'll see how they do once we break it down to the brackets. And now that the top plays have been done, we've recapped everybody. We've actually got to hear everybody's input. Let's go move on to our school club of the week. And this week is, well, it's not technically a club anymore because Crimson Gaming did this really cool thing. Now they all go to the University of Utah, and the University of Utah actually picked them up as an esports club and convinced the university to launch their very first varsity esports program. The school plans to launch many different titles, but they're going to start out with the League of Legends team. Now, this is a huge step forward for college esports in general. As you know, the University of Utah, they are leaders in traditional college esports, or college regular sports, and now them diving into esports is going to make all of their, their rivals, who are rivals at everything, kind of want to dive in and take them on. We've been waiting for a university to back somebody for a long time in the esports world, and we're really, really happy that the University of Utah has dove in and just supported Crimson Gaming. We can't wait to see how they do and where they go. And if you're a Dota fan like me, it's finally a reason to look at anything League of Legends related. So with that, let's move on to our general news. So we're going to be just kind of briefly talking what's going on in each pro scene of our games and maybe some patch notes and things like that. Let's start off with, let's start off with some Counter-Strike. Take us through what's going on in Counter-Strike, Dan.
All right, in Counter-Strike, it's been a pretty good week so far. We're heading to the last couple of games here for the AVGL regular season, so these teams are very competitive now, trying to get those top 2 seeds from each group. So we have 8 groups currently, and top 2 seeds from each group are going to make it to the round of 16 to play in the playoffs. So out of Group A, we do have GG's and Illinois Esports, both still at top 2 spots here, both undefeated, and 1 forfeit win each, but we're not really going to count for those right now. So this is probably going to be like the match to watch eventually, because they are going to be vying for that top spot. And Waterloo, however, did lose to Ryerson, so that was a really good win for Ryerson, who is also undefeated as well. So if they upset Team Ignis into their match, it might upset the top 2 seeds, and who knows, maybe we could see maybe a 3-way tie for the number 1 seed, and that's really interesting. Out of Group B, we have McMaster still undefeated, so they pretty much secured their number 1 seed. But we don't have the second seed quite yet until Michigan State versus MC Edgelords. Group C, as we stated earlier, Donald Deplorables keeping their undefeated streak going at the number 1 spot. They beat Montreal, and it's kind of up to a little bit of a mix here, as most teams in that group only have 2 or 1 wins. The only really strong team there is Donald's Deplorables right now, so we're going to have to let seeding take care of that. Now in Group D, we do have a 3-way tie right now between Carleton University, C-Tech, and Georgetown. All 3 teams currently at 4-1 with 1 forfeit win each. So it's going to be really interesting to see these last couple of weeks go in and see who really comes out on top. For Group E, we do have University of Central Florida undefeated, also at 5-0, with Georgia Tech coming really close at 4-1. Now, Georgia Tech is one of those teams that we didn't expect to be a strong contender at the beginning of the season. However, they did take a 2-0 victory over Kentucky, I believe, in Week 6, and that really propelled them to the top. So they've pretty much secured their second seed out of Group E. For Group F, GMU took a solid 2-0 victory over KSU, finally deciding to order the top 2 weeks. And maybe we could see a couple upsets going to Week 7, but it shouldn't affect seeding all too much. And for Group G, we had the expected wins coming from the top teams, UCI, UCSC, and UBC's, all really good teams right now. However, we do have a win from UCSC over UBC. And UBC has been historically a really good team in collegiate esports. You know, they kind of paved the way back when they had a really good player in Mahone. He was a semi-professional player that kind of picked up the esports club and created that Counter-Strike team. So UBC kind of falling back just a little bit with the loss to UCSC, but it still could be anyone's group here, as UCI did give a forfeit win over to UCSC. So seeding is going to be a little bit complicated out of this group, but it's still a very strong group. And for Group H, we do have UC San Diego still undefeated here at 5-0. I think they played all their matches here with a couple of forfeit wins, so they get to keep their top seed after a 2-0 victory over Cal State Long Beach. Colorado Boulder also got to keep their second seed following that loss, because we would have had maybe a 3-way tie for the number 1 seed if CSULB was going to win over UC San Diego. However, since Colorado already has a win over Cal State Long Beach, there's not much that we can do here for the group. So, you know, going into the last couple weeks, some of the groups have already decided their top 2 seeds, but like that 3-way tie in Group D, it's anyone's game at this point.
Yeah, I love it when it comes down to, you know, the nitty gritty. When you got somebody, you know, it's not just clear who's going to win. I always like seeing it shake out. Is there anything in general Counter-Strike news that you're excited for?
In general Counter-Strike news, I'm pretty excited for the PGL major here. PGL has always been a good kind of production team, and they've had, you know, amazing tournaments, so I'm excited for that. What we do have here is also a couple of local tournaments here and there. I know Esports Arena down in Southern California, they're doing a 20K tournament in the upcoming weeks. And there was another 20K tournament announced somewhere else, and I'd have to get back to you on that. But we're seeing a lot of good tournaments lately, and all these teams are actually vying for, like, you know, prize money. And we're seeing a lot more organizations step up and picking up teams. So, you know, it's a really good time to watch Counter-Strike right now.
Hell yes. So that wraps us up for Counter-Strike. Let's go on to Mr. JMax Smite. What's been going on in the pro scene? Any patch notes? What do you got for us?
As far as the pro scene goes, it's already kind of winded down. They're getting ready for the upcoming Paladins LAN at the moment, so there really hadn't been any major Smite action, as next weekend, not the one coming up, will be the first of the 3 weeks of LANs that Hi-Rez is going to be hosting. First one is going to be the PC Gauntlet. That's where they're bringing in the 14 teams, I believe is how many they're bringing in for this Gauntlet. They're bringing the bottom 6 North American and bottom 6 European SPL teams, as well as the number 1 team from each of the 2 Challenger Cup or Challenger Circuit divisions, North American EU. So 14 teams coming down for that one, all trying to battle out for 2 spots at the Masters LAN, which will be 2 weeks after that. That will be the top 2 North American, top 2 European, and then the number 1 from European, the number 1 from North American from the Gauntlet, a wild card from the Gauntlet to make 7, and then they're going to be bringing a LATAM, a Brazil, and an Oceania team. So I believe it's a 10-team LAN for that one. That's going to be crazy. That's 2 weeks after, so that's the first weekend, or the last weekend of April into the first weekend of May, if I'm not mistaken on that one. After the weekend of the 16th, it's going to be the console LAN. Now, this is where the AVGL is also going to be holding their finals at the same time as the console land. We got to go there last time. If there's any experience you want to watch, it's a bunch of console players yelling at each other in a very small, confined room. It is the best experience you'll ever watch. It's nothing but trash talking between them.
Oh, that sounds hilarious.
It's the most amazing experience to go just sit there and watch, even if you're just, not even if you don't care about the console scene, just listening to the console guys trash talk with each other is the funniest thing. But
oh man, so if you're there, you got to live stream from your phone or something just to give everybody an idea of exactly what you're talking about, because that sounds incredible. I gotta see that.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do onto that one. And as far as general news relating to the Smite goes, we did have the patch note show today. That was for 4.6. We got some new skins. Yeah, skins come with every single patch. Woo! We got the new world champions for the console scene. Team Eager is finally getting their god skin on Ratatosker. So everybody's excited for that one. So the rat is
sick.
It is really nice. They did a really good job on it. As far as balances go, because it's the upcoming round of lands, they don't want to do a ton of balance changes that could make or break the meta per se. We may see some cheeky stuff come out with some of the adjustments that were made, but not too much. Rod of Asclepius got a little bit of a hit on its healing in combat healing. Runic Shield got a little bit of HP added to it. And then as far as God balancing goes, there wasn't a whole lot. It was kind of just minor tone backs for a lot of the characters like Ho Yi. But for some characters, we had a few more major balance changes. And the biggest one that came out of this one was Hades. Hades had a weird transition a long time ago where he was a guardian, but he never really played like a guardian. He was just a really tanky mage is all he was. So he got reclassified as a mage, and he never really got away from being the guardian style stats. He still had the base numbers and the scalings of a guardian, but never really hit like the mage he was supposed to. So Hi-Rez has now gone through and they've adjusted his base stats to put him on the top end of the mages for tankiness and attack and the way how fast he attacks and everything like that. As far as the rest of his kit goes, they've increased the base damages. They've adjusted the mana costs onto that one. So Death from Below is finally going to hit for something. Devour Souls is having his 3 now. His circle is having a little bit of adjustment onto there, having a reduced mana cost. Actually now showing if you're going to detonate the damage from the Blight. And the biggest change, because his protection scaling got adjusted a little bit, they've buffed the protections you get in his ultimate. It no longer consumes his Blight passive, which means you can now effectively combo afterwards if you manage to keep somebody inside of that ultimate. And now magical protections are shred before the first tick of damage even applies with his ultimate. So you don't even have to hit somebody with it. If you just catch somebody in the circle upon cast, it will reduce their magical protections, which is always nice. Ho Yi just had attacks, just had his attack speed and base power slightly increased to bring him more in line with the other hunters. Robin's ultimate had a change to where it now hits a little bit harder. It starts off at 50 more base power. Nice. Not only that, they've taken away what was called the link system for how his mechanic worked with that one. So if he ulted a target, it linked it to him to where all other 4 people did reduce damage to him, and that one person didn't. They did regular damage. Now they changed it to where there's no more linking mechanic. It's when he ults, he gains 50% damage reduction from everybody. If he hits a god with it, they take 10% increased damage from all sources. And the biggest change of them all, now his ultimate can hit minions. It couldn't before. I don't know why. Now, if Hercules is sitting in the middle of his creep wave, you can ult it and kill off the creep wave. And then the last big balance change that I think may have another effect on the entirety of the meta is Scotty. Scotty has just recently really dominated the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks. She's really coming to fruition for a lot of players at all skill levels. The most annoying part of her kit, the one that everybody hates and loves equally, probably hates more than anything else, Calder. Whenever you use Scotty's ultimate, Calder regains all of his HP and becomes immune to damage for the duration. Hi-Rez has made it to where he is no longer immune to damage during his ultimate. So you can burn off the dog's HP before, so you don't get completely bursted down because it was just too much to deal with. So that's finally getting a hit. That may or may not take her out of the meta. We'll see exactly how that shifts going up into the incoming weeks. And then the last big bit of news, Smite started up a new Adventures series. First we had Capture the Flag. It's gone. Now we're getting Apollo's Racer Rumble. We're getting Mario Kart in Smite.
That sounds amazing.
I'll leave you at that one. There's new skins, new rewards, pedestals, whatever it may be. But now you get to play Mario Kart and Smite. So there you go.
Smite, the only game you'll ever need. No.
Basically.
They keep going the way they're going. That's pretty amazing. That sounds awesome. Thanks for doing such a thorough update. I know it's a lot to go through the patch notes and all that stuff, and we really appreciate it. Speaking of patch notes, Paladins being in beta, it gets a lot of them. So, Strixus, you want to take us through any of the major changes that have happened recently?
Absolutely. So, I was talking with Eager's Wiffle, Wi-Fi, however you want to pronounce it. I've heard it both ways. But I was talking with him the other day. I actually interviewed him. That interview should be out soon for anybody who's interested in that. We've got that coming up from the AVGL very soon. But I was talking with him about some of the changes. They're going to be playing on the current patch on LAN this weekend, I believe.
Ooh, damn.
Just to so people don't have to. The patch actually, I believe, dropped today. So it's so that people don't have to, learn a new patch, learn new things in 3 days before they go to LAN. But nonetheless, despite the fact that Bomb King and Lex are going to be ridiculously good this weekend on LAN.
Love me some Bomb King.
Oh my gosh, he's fun, but oh my gosh, his sound effects can There was a bug in his Halloween skin where if you ulted, the sound effect of his rolling and the Halloween music behind it wouldn't go away for the rest of the match.
Oh my gosh.
And only you could hear it. And it was so I had a game that it was 18 minutes long. And so for 14 minutes, I just heard the Bomb King music. It was definitely something. That's for sure.
You never played Bomb King again. No.
I mean, he's back. He's actually nerfed a little bit in the new patch. He got extra damage fall off on his bombs. So, if you get, as Wiffle put it, you don't walk near a couple of bombs and then instantly get blown up as a damage carry. Your teammate who gets stuck with 3 bombs doesn't try to run away, is scared for their life and blow you up in the process as they're running past you. So Bomb King got a little bit of a downwards adjustment there. He saw a lot of play these past couple of weeks because the detonate on his bombs was much more responsive, especially when it comes to lag. So and you see it a lot in pro play, where professional Bomb Kings would explode the bombs midair for maximum value. So it's going to be now that you'll still get a lot of damage off that, but it'll be less. You're going to be you're going to need to stick the bombs for it to do maximum damage, and he's still going to be good, I believe, but he's definitely going to have a little bit of a downward adjustment. A couple other characters that got some adjustments. Grok got, I believe it's some sort of a buff. He got a buff to his healing. He's still going to be more of an off healer / damage, secondary damage character, kind of like a 50-50. But he got it so that his shock pulse with the Maelstrom card, which is the only card you ever run on Grok anyways, he got it so that he gets a little bit extra cooldown from the bounces, because they had to nerf the Maelstrom card previously. It's a legendary where it used to bounce multiple times and reapply and stack. I think it stacked the slow. I don't remember if it stacked the slow, but it definitely would reapply the slow as it bounced between targets. So they made it so that the slow would only reapply once per bounce.
That seems a little more reasonable.
Yeah. So now that's been tuned down, they made it so that they made it so that you can cast it a little bit more often just to get a little bit extra damage in, so that he can be this off damage, off healer hybrid kind of character. Lex saw a little bit of success. I talked a couple weeks ago, Hitch, I think you remember me talking about Lex. I played Lex a little bit on the PTS. He was good, and then I watched other people play him. And
absurd.
Absurd is a good word to put it. He's not receiving a lot of adjustments this patch. He's going to be getting his legendary that gives him extra damage on targets above 65% health is getting a damage buff downward adjustment. So it used to do 40% extra damage to any target above 65% health. Now it's only doing 30%.
That seems a little more reasonable.
It's a little bit more. He's still this kind of a lot of people I've talked to have said that Lex feels more like a damage character with a little more mobility, kind of like how Cassie was before she got hit with a couple of nerfs 3-6 months ago, something like that. So Lex is getting some downward adjustments. He's still going to be fantastic top pick on LAN as well as Bomb King, but they're going to see how well that that does for him. He also got some extra voice lines and sound effects, which is cool. Other characters, Maldamba got buffed for whatever reason.
Really?
Yeah,
That
so
seems
Maldamba is like a top 2 healer. He's not the easiest character to play for a more casual player. So his autos arc in a slightly weird style if you're not used to playing him, and his main healing ability is hit scan, so it's a little bit awkward for people who are not used to it. You'll see a lot more Ying in casual play, a lot more Grok in casual play because the heals are easier to hit. Generally, like they feel more effective for people who aren't used to playing healer style characters. So he got a little bit. He's also one of the lowest damaging characters in the game right now, even at a pro level. But so they actually increased the projectile speed of his stun, because that was another thing that his stun is not the easiest to hit or aim if you're not using the Deft Hands reload card, because the stun procs on his reload.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I can't hit that damn thing.
yeah. So that's gonna allow his stun to be a little bit more effective. He's not gonna have to. It's not gonna be like terribly better, but it's just gonna help it a little bit. Everything else kind of stayed the same. Ying got a little bit of healing, not a healing nerf, but an effective healing nerf, because her heal from her clones aren't able to reach quite as far, which is important because Ying consistently is a top healer in casual game modes, and is a easily top or top 2 in professional play as well. Ying got to the point where she was a couple patches ago, she was like easy first pick for like everybody, and she's still a top 2 healer in the meta right now. You really see
once people know how to play them, they just never want to give them up.
Right. And her heal is like so easy, because you drop a clone onto the ground and it like auto targets somebody near them, and with her legendary card that lets it target 2 people, it heals for a little bit less, but it auto targets 2 people in range of it. So they nerfed the range of a little bit to make it you have to be a little bit smarter about the placement of your Ying clones. You can't just drop them in the back line, it'll heal the person on the point, which is is kind of what it felt like it was at some point. But yeah, so other than that, like I mentioned before, we got the Masters LAN this weekend. You've got 8 teams coming out. We have a little bit of a precursor coming out last week. We're not going to have a lot of people playing. We didn't have a lot of people playing in the ESL, or we're not going to have a lot of top players playing in the ESL this week for Paladins because they're just going to be on LAN.
Makes sense.
They're already in Atlanta, but last Thursday, I believe, we saw in Europe at least D69 take the set over formerly Burrito, now Carbon 6. So they're still looking like the number 1 team. They're looking like they could be the number 1 team in the world right now. We'll find out this weekend. North America lagged just a little bit behind Europe at Worlds. Europe's definitely the number 1 scene in season 0. I think I guess you call it season 0. So this In Burrito right now, there have been a couple of issues for Carbon 6. I believe their one of their flex pick players, Lemonade, is with the Army right now, or he's with some sort of armed force training right now, so he's going to be unable to play. So their Sun Commander is going to be playing for them this weekend.
That's brutal.
That's gonna hurt Carbon 6's chances a little bit this weekend, and I think that might be. I think we might see D69 rise to the top this weekend. Obviously, anything goes. We could see who is the Kanga Esports, formerly Abyss, rise to the top from Oceania. They put out a great showing
Nice.
at Hi-Res Expo, but it's up for grabs at this point.
Oh yeah. Well, you like to keep it mixed up, keep it exciting. So I can't wait to see how that shakes out as far as Paladins. It's always good to see a growing esport with a bunch of people competing, because a lot of them usually get a top person and then they'll stay there and they'll stay there and they'll stay there for a good little bit. Like it's good to see it mixing it up early on. We'll see if anybody does eventually come up on that mass person on top. Let's dive over into Dota 2. We had I think it was the DAC this weekend, right, Pete?
Yes, the DAC major. The DAC tournament, not the major, happened this weekend, and it was OG versus IG, and game number 1, it was actually a 55-minute game between them, but OG, they really, I mean, it was a 3-0. IG beat them 3-0. So, I mean, OG didn't do any good there. Game number 1, it went straight to IG. They're fighting back a Shadow Demon Alchemist with Terrorblade, which obviously Terrorblade, Illusions, and Metamorphosis increase damage by 97,000%. And it just sieges down your towers, but they did a really good job defending. So game 1 went to IG. I believe it was on the back of the Ricky, who was a support. And then game 2, they picked up Ricky again. OG did not ban it out for some reason, but this is where it was really weird. This was the first ever game. It was actually not first ever, but it's been a long time since it was a tri-ring of Aquila on one hero, which ended up being a winning game as well. This Ricky ended up going at tri-ring Aquila. The ring, basically. He went for a tri-ring, and it was before this the only pro game to end in the last year with a player having 3 rings of Aquila was Abed. Abed versus for EXE versus Meneski, which is honestly something you would expect from Abed anyway.
Yeah.
So game 2 went straight over to IG, forcing out the GG from OG, and then game 3, a super quick, easy decider. And it went 33 minutes. Aegis, Megas at, I think it was, Megas was at 26 minutes. And they had no actual super strong pushing tier heroes. But happily, Monkey King was banned, so I didn't have to deal with that. But that was pretty much it. DAC ended with a 3-0 IG claiming their victory, and it looks like they're set for the majors. Can't remember if they were invited or they made it through, but I'm pretty sure they're there. Not at this exact second, obviously, but I think they are I think they're in the lineup one way or another. I haven't checked.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if
crazy.
they're not, they're invited to the international at this point. So that's pretty much what happened. Ricky, still a very viable hero, and people just don't know that.
That's insane. Yeah, it's funny because the Ricky is kind of the perfect symbol for IG, because for IGs, they've been struggling a little bit back and forth. They never really fell out of favor contention, but it'd been a while since we saw them win anything big. And then just like Ricky and Invis Hero, they come out of nowhere, and then they're beating up on OG, 2-time winner of the Boston Major, a lot of people's favorite team, a lot of people consider #1 in the world, and then all of a sudden IG's just coming out of nowhere and really taking them down. Do you think there was any particular factors that factored into this, or were they just played hard and played some good Dota?
It seemed like OG was starting to slowly fall apart at the halfway point, I'd say, for game number 2. Obviously, when they were starting to lose more and more team fights. The Alchemist pick, they got Alchemist 2 times, I believe, then banned in the 3rd game. I got the picture right here. Yeah. Oh, they had a Monkey King actually in game number 3. So maybe that was their downfall. They picked a lot of heroes that were actually nerfed slightly in the most recent patch. Lone Druid, and then Ember Spirit and Monkey King, all heroes that were nerfed kind of into the ground a little bit. I mean, -2 magic % damage off of Ember's first talent isn't that bad. But Lone Druid obviously got a couple things that made him a little bit weaker. And Monkey King starts with no armor versus 3 weeks ago where he started with, I believe, 6. So, yeah, they just picked heroes that weren't really that good. Over on IG, they picked up a Shadow Fiend, which everyone sees all the time, Legion Commander, and the Roaming Earth Spirit. So they picked up a really, a stable lineup that's picked up a lot. And OG just picked up a really scattered lineup. They even had Visage and Axe as their secondaries. So this was a position for Roaming Monkey King, and there was no Lena available, which is the most common pickup with the Monkey. Looks like banned out from OG as well.
Damn.
So I think they just started slowly deteriorating when it came to game number 2. You could see it in a little bit of their fights. It got scrappy around the 15-minute mark, and at that point, I felt that OG knew that they weren't gonna make it, and well, they didn't, unfortunately. The OG powerhouse, OG powerhouse had completely fallen, and hopefully they can recover before the next major and maybe claim their 4th total major.
It'd be amazing. I always like to dream a little green, if you know what I mean. They're one of my favorite teams, of course. You got No Tail, Fly, their bromance that has carried the team pretty this far. So I really hope to see them bounce back. But it is also nice to see some life coming back from teams that we haven't seen in a while. Who knows? Maybe we'll see Navi make a comeback. Sarcasm. All right, let's go to our predictions within the AVGL. Let's start with you, since you were last, Petey. Why don't you kick us off for your predictions as far as Dota 2 and the AVGL goes?
Well, as I would love to say, UC Davis is 7-0 right now, so I'm gonna say it's gonna be UC Davis that may take it down in the end here. We do have one more week, but we have a quite big group of teams that were really set forward to winning for sure. RIT, which I've had the pleasure of casting myself, they seem like a really strong team, so they can make it up there. I mean, there's a whole nother week left, so I can't exactly predict anything. But of course, I'm going to say this every time. I just want those UC teams to win. So I'm going to predict that UC Davis, after looking at some of the stats behind the games, searching endlessly to find a ticket number for the games, because there's been we don't have a ticket in the client, so I can't go back and get the replays that way.
So if you're seeing this, please tweet at Valve to give us a damn ticket ASAP.
Pretty much, right.
Hashtag save the AVGL.
So let's see. I'm going to go over the quick top, all the people that are 6-0, 5-0 right now. It looks like it's in the Midas division. They're 6-0 for the Washington State University. And I feel like I did cast them one time as well. I believe it was a half game, though, as I think that was the week that, the network was exploding on the side of Valve, which is always fun. And that, happens at least every Tuesday and Friday when they don't tell us. So Midas division, they ended up getting a 6-0, and Midas division, Washington University got a 6-0.
Damn.
And then it was a Demon Edge division with Waterloo, who's also a 6-0. I've not casted them before, but I could just easily go in the stats and figure out just how good it was. But they're the only 6-0 in their league as well. Meanwhile, on the side of the Daedalus division, there's a bunch of 5-0s and a 5-1, so it looks like Daedalus division a little bit weak, but they might have had later games or something like that. But Colonel Big Red Bears are the we're gonna say it's the Colonel University. So they're 5-0 on their bracket. And then down in the Radiance division, it's Stony Brook University that's also 6-0. I haven't casted them either, but I heard one of the teams they were fighting against, I think they were against UConn, and they just destroyed them. So I'm eager to see that one perform as well. RIT, which I talked about at the very beginning, they may not be 6-0. They're 6-1, but obviously the team underneath them is 6-0. So they had another game. They've got a little bit more experience, and I casted them. So I think RIT are definitely going to be in the whole top 5. And then the Tarask division, I've been talking about this all day. It's got a lot of my UC teams in it, with UC Davis at 7-0, and that's who I think is going to take it all in.
Hell yes. Well,
Yeah,
damn, thanks.
why I
That's
leave you
a
off.
that's a perfect recap of what's going on. And it is kind of nice to see, if especially if you're a UC fan, everybody doing well. I remember the Big Red Bears from before. Man, those guys were awesome and really fun to watch. So I kind of am looking forward to some of them as well. So we've got a little bit of the recap already from Dan. But do you have anything that you're predicting? Anything that you're excited to see to walk us through as far as CS:GO goes?
Well, probably the most exciting group right now is probably Group D with that three-way tie for the number one spot. What's interesting is that all three top teams have forfeit wins against another team in the top three. So you're going to see a really weird, kind of tiebreaker going on. That's assuming if they all win their next game. So, whoever loses their following game is pretty much going to be knocked out of the competition. Other than that, not really. Most teams, are still vying for the top spots in their respective groups. Maybe another interesting group might be Group G with UCI and UCSC going into the last games. Because it's important still, we do have to do seedings. The best teams are going to play against the worst teams in the first round of the playoffs. So seed number one is pretty important. You might get a little bit of advantage going to the seedings of the playoffs. But not really anything interesting. McMaster University is still very dominant, so probably the match to watch this week is going to be Michigan State versus MC Edgelords, as they are going to be, competing. They're really going to be dueling it out for that second seed. Group A, pretty much almost already decided. Not much going on there. And yeah, probably, again, match to watch is going to be Michigan State versus MC Edgelords.
Man, I love the CS:GO team names, like MC Edgelords. It's fantastic. I love everything about that name. J-Mac, you want to take us through Smite and your predictions? I know you usually have a good insight, so what you got for us?
Well, with our final weekend coming up, April 8th being the Gauntlet Finals, this is the second to last stage before the semifinals, and then we have our grand finals, obviously, with our top 2 teams. So sitting at our top 8 teams right now, and the matchups that's going to be happening in Ragnarok, it's Ohio State versus Stony Brook University. During the seeding stage, Ohio did not look very strong compared to Stony Brook. That may or may not have an effect of their mid laner Sheikah not being there for Ohio State. Sheikah is a Challenger Circuit level player, and really kind of the big booming voice behind that team. It's when you think of the team, you don't really know you may not know too many other players if you're not familiar amongst the AVGL scene. But Sheikah was kind of the big name, and he was absent during the weekend, was not able to play the first day for seeding, and now they're going to have their shot back to try and go for the number 1 in their conference against Stony Brook. We'll see how it goes out. As far as that matchup goes, I still have to somewhat savor. I can't even think of the word I was trying to say. Favor. That was what? Favor. Savor? Favor. Favoring. I'm still favoring Stony Brook. Almost all of these sets I can easily see going to a third game. I'd love to see, best of threes all day long. It'd make for an amazing one, as we're doing all of our Gauntlet Finals on Saturday. As far as the advantage go, I'm still going to give it towards Stony Brook. I think that they just, as a team, are much stronger. I think that they have a lot of individual skill over some of the players on Ohio State. So I'm kind of looking towards Stony Brook for that victory onto that one. We'll see how they play out. The real matchup that I think everybody should tune in for, drop everything you're doing, no other Smite matters in existence, Salisbury University and St. Joseph's. This was our best of one matchup that we got to witness this past weekend. These two teams were going, it looked very heavily in favor of Salisbury University. They made one small little mess up during the game when they were trying to push a Phoenix, and the game completely turned on a 180. St. Joseph's University was able to bring it back, push it all the way to their Phoenix, and then pull the Salisbury University, messed up at the Phoenix, and that was the end of the game for that one. Salisbury got a 4-man wipe at the Phoenix fight, was able to utilize their relics and their abilities a little bit better in the final fight, ended up coming out on top in the best of 1. Now we're getting back into a best of 3, and I think that if Salisbury can actually pick the correct relics, I don't think getting Phantom on Zeus is the way to go. I'm looking at you, Dean, for making Dan go into that. Do not buy Meditation if you need a Phantom. Just saying. It kind of helps if you can let your damage characters stay alive a little bit longer, and Phantom's not the best way for them to go that to stay alive. They kind of need that Aegis. So I'm giving the advantage to Salisbury just because of how long these players have been with each other. This is 4 of the 5 members from last season playing with each other. And the captain of St. Joseph's is their former 5th player. So it's the rival matchup yet again. And probably the most amusing thing to me to watch was the 4 members of Salisbury chasing down their 5th player to get one of the first kills of the game. It was just hilarious because you could see Blaziken, the jungler for Salisbury, just walk away. He's like, guys, just whatever, you guys do you. And they all chased down and got the kill onto that one. So Salisbury looking really strong. I think that they have the potential to take this one out. I won't count St. Joseph's out on this one. We'll just see how it goes. The next one is in the Yomi Conference. It's Tarrant County College, the supposed #1 seed for just about all of our casters, and amongst some of the players as well. They're going to be taking on Penn State, who were formerly in the 4th seed coming into the gauntlet just because they were unable to play on Saturday during the seeding round. I still really give I think this might be the only one. I don't see a 3-game. I think Tarrant County just individually is a lot stronger than Penn State. And we mentioned this quite a few times on there. 4 out of the 5 players on Tarrant County have at least one AVGL championship under their belt. Data Remember and Osoft have 2 themselves, and Dingo Dial and Cardiac both have a single one. Cardiac is from season 1, Dingo Dial season 2, and then obviously season 1 and 2 for the other 2 guys. This is the only one I don't really see going 3 games. Like I said, I think Tarrant County is just a stronger team than that they are. And then we get to see the rival matchup. Now, with all of these other 6 teams, they've all been in different divisions amongst their conference. So Stony Brook was one division, Ohio State was the other, and they were all their #1 seeds. This division, the Olympus, is the only one we have the #1 and 2 from the same division as the conference #1 and #2. University of Tennessee Orange is leading it right now in the #1 seed. They're going to have their rematch against UC Riverside, where in the season it was a 2-0 in favor of Tennessee. Riverside coming back. We'll see if they can correct their mistakes, play a little bit stronger, and go forward with it. It's going to be close games regardless because of how close these 2 teams actually are comparatively to each other. So, we'll see where it goes from that one. I'd love to see, like I said, I want to see game 3 out of all of these, but as far as it going, I'm thinking Stony Brook's going to take it out of Ragnarok, Salisbury out of Gaelic Conference, Tarrant County, and then University of Tennessee. I mean, if you want the quick rundown of those, that's the predictions for that one. Going into the semifinals on Sunday, we'll have to see because we do soft seed those teams. So we have to see which ones make it before I can give any kind of official prediction on that one.
That sounds awesome. It sounds like you're right. It might be a drop everything and smite sort of situation. Okay, so Strixus, what happened with the Paladins? I know we kind of had a break last weekend, but we got some stuff coming up. You got any predictions for us?
Yeah, so I kind of gave you a non-prediction earlier to hype it up, but yeah, we got the Paladins AVGL finals this weekend. We've got we're down to 2 teams out of somewhere in the realm of 30, I think somewhere between 20 and 35 teams. It's pretty sweet. We're down to 2. Those 2 are Davenport University and Rowan University. For those of you who follow the Paladin scene, if you haven't watched the show before, I've said it a couple times, you recognize the names. Like the names, you're going to recognize the names in this game. You have, on one side, you've got Powtech, Avuli, Wiffle, Wi-Fi, however you want to pronounce it, Grapple, and Alternate on the side of Davenport, on the side of Rowan. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay. Can you go back to drinking your Windex? No.
On the side of Rowan, you're going to have Z1 Unknown, Shady Shades, Fire, Mr. Hayes, and Ethereal. I believe those are the 5 main roster members right now that played this past weekend. But it's going to be hype, So we've got that match coming up. You can watch that on this Sunday, April 9th. It'll be the first thing that airs on Sunday on twitch.tv/paladinsgame, twitch.tv/HiResTV. You'll be able to watch that before the 2 semifinals and the final match of the Paladins Masters LAN. As for predictions, I'm gonna have to give that one 2-1 to, or sorry, not 2-1. It's a best of 5. I'm gonna have to give that one. I'm gonna say 3-1 Davenport. They've got some really strong names. Ivuli's one of the best damage players in the North American scene. Whiffle's going to also be on damage characters, which he prefers. Actually, he plays them a lot on stream, and he's mentioned that he prefers playing damage, even though with Eager he plays tanks. Grapple's just like a really, really solid tank slash a little bit of a flex player. Although a little bit of insight, I do know that Rowan scrims quite a bit more than Davenport does, which is definitely important when it comes to playing for this LAN. They don't quite have the staying power of the names, but they do practice from what I heard, a significant amount more. So that could give them an edge up in this matchup. But I think that based on the names, based on a number of people on Davenport working well together already, like playing a lot together previously, I think that they're going to end up taking this set. I don't know how many games it's going to be out of the 5. I think that Rowan can definitely take one if they draft very well. Draft is super important in this game, so I think they're going to need to definitely pull out a good draft and then back it up. But the draft is definitely very important. So I think it's going to be a good set. Davenport's going to take it.
Nice. Do you think the patch will play into it at all, or do you think everybody's kind of pretty solid as far as, because it wasn't a major overhaul, but do you think it's going to be pretty much what we're used to? Do you think the scrims will come into any sort of factor in that way?
So they're not going to be playing on the patch this weekend.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. You already told us that.
Yeah. So
never mind.
So we're still going to be playing with Nuts Bomb King, Nuts Lex, which is fine. You know, Bomb King's really hyped to watch. Lex maybe a little bit less so with his right mouse button being the auto aim damage. A little bit less fun to watch. But Bomb King is like, I don't know. Bomb King, at least to me, is one of the most hype characters to watch, just because the skill ceiling on that character is just absolutely insane. So we're gonna see a lot of fun Bomb King, a lot of fun Paladins this weekend. I'll be interested to see if we see some pocket picks come out. Like I know a lot of people aren't really favoring Sky right now, especially with Lex, but I've heard that some people might be practicing the Sky plus Lex duo, so we might see Sky worm her way just a little bit back into the meta. We'll see, probably not Maeve, maybe Fernando, probably not Inara. I've heard from many players that Inara is not competitively sound right now, but we'll see. You know, we've got 3 to 4 days. I think it's 3 days of like basically all day Paladins action, tons of matches. We're gonna get a lot of games, so it'll be exciting.
Oh yes, it sounds like it's going to be a good time, and we'll see what shakes out as far as that goes. Any final thoughts? We're going through each person one by one. You know, give us one thing, maybe kind of a few sentences, kind of wrap it up. I know we're running a little long, and thanks for you guys for giving us the time and sticking with us. So, Party Petey, final thoughts.
Just really excited to see Dota unfold and get ready for those brackets coming right around the corner. One more week, so make sure to stay tuned because this next week's basically the decider for the brackets. So, yeah, just look forward to some more excitement and some really, really tense Dota this week.
Heck yes. And if you don't know what he's talking about as far as the brackets go, look right underneath us. There's a big button that says April Anarchy. And it's just like March Madness, where you can put together brackets. Only this time you don't have to bet with anybody else. We're going to take the top ones. We're going to give you some money with all the details right down. It's going to be fantastic. It's a great time. You're going to love it. Getting too close to somebody else here. All right, let's get your opinions on CS. Any final thoughts for us? What you got?
Final thoughts coming into probably the last week of Counter-Strike for most of these teams. You're going to see a lot of teams battle it out, making sure that they can do the best that they can, not go out on too much of an embarrassing note. You're going to see a lot of teams try to ruin maybe a playoff chance for another team. Like I mentioned, that three-way tie. If all three teams lose, it's still a tie, but maybe two of the teams lose and they have to maybe play in a tiebreaker or something. So it's going to be really exciting to see how, collegiate teams are going to work here, whether they want to just, kind of just throw their last game or just play around for fun or actually try to ruin another team's chance of making the playoffs.
Hey, you know what they say, if you can't win, make it so other people can't. All right, J-Mac, final thoughts for Smite.
Come out and watch the championships. I mean, it's going to be some of the best Smite we'll ever have here on the AVGL until our grand finals and even the semis that are going to happen up on Sunday. So come out and watch that. It's going to be great. We got the top 8 teams right now. I mean, these are the best of the best. You're not going to want to miss these guys playing.
Hell yes. And it looks like Strixus was agreeing with you, adding to some of your final thoughts. Strixus, what are your final thoughts as far as Paladins goes?
I just got to encourage everybody to, come out and watch the Masters LAN this weekend. There's going to be a ridiculous number of sets. I believe there are I believe there are going to be 13, 14, 15 sets this weekend, something like that. It's going to be a lot of Paladins. It's going to be really hype. You're going to see the best players in the world playing from 5 different regions. It's going to be hype, and you get to see on Sunday, you get to see the AVGL finals between Davenport and Rowan.
Hell to the yes. And with that, that brings us to the close of yet another weekly aftermath from the AVGL. I'm your host, as always, Hitchhiker of the Mind. Thank you, everybody, for being with me. Mr. Party Petey, Mr. Dan Lay, Mr. J-Mac Tucker, and Mr. Strixus. You can always catch us on our YouTube, our Twitter. They're all linked around here, so check them out. And as always, thank you to Twitch and all of our sponsors for kicking ass and staying with us. Thank you for Gamer Creators, all the other good stuff. And with that, we are out, so have a good rest of your day, everybody.